Story is, I got the job at Charles City High School. I was 24 years old, head coach. It was August 1st, 1977, actually, was the date. I knew the former coach that was there, and I called and asked, hey, let me know. I was all fired up and ready to go, right out of college pretty much. And I said, give me the name of the key kids on the team, state qualifiers, captains, whatever. He said, Coach, I'll leave you a note in your mailbox for in-service in 2 weeks. I go, oh, sure, great. So we get to in-service, and I go to my mailbox, and there's the note. The note said, Coach Miller, make sure you let Brad Peterson be the wrestling manager. Good luck. I was like, wrestling manager? Who's Brad Peterson? 2 days later, I found out Brad Peterson wheeled up to me in his wheelchair and said, hey, Coach Miller, I'm Brad Peterson. I want to be the wrestling manager. Brad had a muscular disease, and he was kind of deformed. He was probably weighed 80 pounds total. He could move his stick on the wheelchair. He could talk. That's about it. And I go, sure. And then after he left, he wheels off. I go, what am I going to do with a young man in a wheelchair in a wrestling room with all these bodies flying all around? So the next day I said, hey, Brad, you were manager last year. What'd you do last year? He said, oh, Coach, I ran practice. I blew the whistle. I go, oh, okay. So we started practice, and it wasn't handicap accessible. We carried him up the steps and down the steps every day. I put a whistle around his neck, in his mouth, and he watched the clock. And if we were going 30-second goes, every 30 seconds, Brad blew the whistle. Well, then I found out real quick that he couldn't blow the whistle. He didn't have enough air to blow the whistle hard enough every time. So I'd say time if he couldn't get it out, And his mom told me later, he said, you know what, Coach? He loves doing that in practice, but it totally wears him out. Make a long story short, we got a new definition of what hard was because of this Brad Peterson. Not only our team, Coach Miller, at a young age. And Brad was one of our leaders. He didn't speak a lot, but when he did, it meant something. One day he said, I'd like to wrestle just one match. That spring he passed away. And at his funeral, it really hit me for the first time, because I thought back, I go, wow. That note in the mailbox, I asked that coach, give me a list of the key kids, and he named one guy, Brad Peterson. And he was right. And Brad was determined to be a part of the wrestling team, even though he was in a wheelchair and couldn't do much. But, I didn't know at that time in my life that everybody had value. Even a kid in a wheelchair. In this case, especially a kid in a wheelchair that could hardly blow the whistle. That impacted my life, People that are on the, our maintenance people, our secretary, they're a part of our program because they are valued. But he taught me a life lesson there that I never forgot.